Dave,
John,
Shane,
Chad,
these Sci-Fi Guys.
Welcome to the Sci-Fi Guys. I am Dave, and with me is Shane.
Hey, everybody.
Chad.
Cowabunga!
John may be coming in a little bit later. He's got some issues working out right now. But it's not just the three of us. We've also got our friends from those Sci-Fi Guys. We've got DT, and of course we got Mac.
I love being a turtle.
Yeah, that's what we're doing today. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original movie from 1990. Here, I'm going to give you a quick, brief synopsis. Here you go. Ready? Are you ready for this?
Ready.
Okay, here you go. When a kingpin threatens New York City, a group of mutated turtle warriors must engage from the shadows to protect their home.
Ooh.
That's the whole movie.
Nice.
There you
That
go.
works. That works.
We're done.
I'll take it.
And we're done. Out.
Yep.
All right.
Out.
So I ate all that pizza for dinner for nothing?
Yeah, I guess so.
It's still pizza.
That's right.
But yeah, actually, I got a couple pizzas down in the freezer. We just got at Aldi yesterday, and they looked really good. One was like an all meat lovers, and the other one was like just a cheese. But you could see the big honking chunks of cheese. They were just like big mozzarella slices.
That was good.
Okay, you're making me hungry now, Dave. Come on
yeah.
now. Come on now.
And it was
Come
only
on
like
now.
$3.95 too. So I was like, yeah, I can deal with that.
Totally excellent, dude.
Totally righteous.
Oh man. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and go behind the scenes. So, this movie, started as you saw the intro here. Let me pull it back up here. All right, you'll notice Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a cartoon prior to this movie. It was actually a very popular cartoon, but no one wanted to do this movie. No one, no major studio at least wanted to. At the time, the studios thought the concepts of Ninja Turtles was silly or too risky. The film was produced independently by Golden Harvest. It is a Hong Kong-based studio known for Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan films. Eventually, New Line Cinema picked it up. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said I thought it was a breakfast cereal.
Golden Harvest. Yeah, it does sound like it.
It does.
Even better. Some
It
yeah,
does
Part of
sound
your
like
complete
kind of
breakfast.
healthy cereal.
It does sound like it.
Oh man. Okay. This movie is based, as I said in the synopsis, in New York. It was very little was filmed in New York. The only parts that were filmed in New York was actually like April walking down the street. That was it. Everything else was filmed in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yeah, known for its metropolis setting.
Exactly, for its metropolis. even
its
the
pizza.
sewer stuff that
Yes.
was like on a stage was still filmed in North Carolina.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. You were saying pizza.
I was
The
just going to
pizza-
say, not the pizza scene, right?
No, just the pizza in general. All the scenes that had pizza in it, the pizza was real. And it was gross. Because it's sitting there underneath all the lights and it started getting congealed and it just started to smell bad.
Nice. Nice.
So,
Couple that
And-
with the foam suits and the
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah. And they said, and some takes the cheese. Yeah, it was bad. Pizza Hut had the marketing deal with the film, but Domino's was in the film. It
Yeah.
was a confusing thing.
Yeah.
Because he
Prominent
gave
product
Domino's. Yeah. That didn't make sense. Why they didn't just have Domino's do it then? If they're in the movie,
Yeah.
Sam Rockwell. We all know who he is, right?
Yes.
Okay. You'll notice there was a very young Sam Rockwell in here. He appears as
Yeah.
a street punk and a Foot Clan member, credited simply as Head Thug.
He did a good job.
He even had a few lines
did.
like regular or menthol when he was talking about the cigarettes, and then he had a little montage at the end.
It's almost like this is his version. Like this is the character that he really played in Galaxy Quest.
Mhm.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, this was like one of his first movies. He was on a couple of TV shows prior to this in like 1988, like one episode off, one episode here and there. And then he was in a movie as like a background person. And then this was the first one where he actually got a good credit, a good movie. Let's just put it that way. It wasn't some cheesy B-rate movie. Judith Hagg, who was April O'Neil, she wasn't invited back after this movie. The producers, the directors, and all that did not like her whatsoever. Basically, she voiced criticism during press interviews about the grueling shooting schedule and the violent tone. Oh,
Mm.
it's a movie about ninjas. It's gonna be violent. Come on. The producers basically just said, "No, we got sequels. We'll find somebody else." Paige Turco was the one that replaced her in the next two movies. So,
Who liked who more? I actually liked Paige more.
I actually liked Judith's. I thought she was tougher.
Judith had a prettier smile.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mhm.
But
Judith did, but there was some, and again, there was other issues behind it. Like they wanted her to wear the yellow outfit that you saw in the cartoon,
Mhm.
and she refused and said, "No, I'm not going to do that. No, that's stupid. No, But she did have. You're right. She had a prettier smile, but I think I liked Paige better.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's a little bit deeper.
Do you know the other where Judith also another thing she played in?
Judith or Paige?
Judith, the first one.
I looked it up and I don't remember.
She was the mom in the Halloween Town.
Oh, that was her?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. I tried watching that for the first time 4 years ago, and I couldn't finish it. But I was an adult, so
just couldn't.
I'm
I'm
like,
sorry.
this doesn't make sense, but I can see why people love it.
Mhm.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Each of the obviously each of the Ninja Turtles had their own fighting style. Like Raphael used the size. Donatello, he was defensive and technical, often with a spinning bow. I mean, he had the staff, right?
Yeah, he had the
Bow
staff.
staff, yes.
Yeah, the bow staff. That's right. Leonardo had his two sabers, katanas.
Katanas.
And of course, they wanted each one to have a distinct style, even if they lost their weapons and their headband came off, because sometimes some of those films were dark. So that's why they actually designed each of them to do a different fighting style, so the audience would say, "Oh, hey, that's Michelangelo," or "Hey, that's Leonardo."
Okay.
They wanted it to be very helpful for the audience. Okay, I got one little thing left. Okay, this was actually Jim Henson's. He's the one that created these masterpieces. Let's just say,
Creature Shop.
Mhm.
yeah, these creatures. This was actually one of his last projects that he ever worked on before his death. The facial expressions and all of that is remote control animatronics.
Animatronics, yeah.
Animatronics, but they were all done by remote control. So actually, anytime you saw a turtle on this scene, you typically had three people involved. One person was in the suit, one person was doing the voicing, and one person was animating the facial movements. Yeah, only one person. His name was Josh Payas. He was the only one that did the voice and was in the suit for Raphael. He was the only one. All the rest of them, were 3 people.
Oh,
The actors lost approximately 10 to 15 pounds during filming, due to the extreme heat inside the turtle suits. They actually had tubes into like the heels of the suits or in the bottom of the suits to drain the sweat out in between shots.
Oh,
you know,
Uh-huh.
just so it would,
Oh.
and just can you imagine the moves? They make it look fluid on the movie, but
Very.
you're having to do different kinds of movement and all that other stuff. Splinter is the thing I'm going to end with. Splinter was a puppet, but also was a performance. All right, I gotta pull something up here.
It really struck you as a he struck me more as the most Henson of the puppets.
Mhm.
Yes, I would agree.
You know,
I would agree.
something
he
out
actually-
of like Dark Crystal or Labyrinth.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. They reminded me of Dark
Storytellers.
Crystal so much. Actually, he had multiple puppeteers. One for the facial features, one for the body movements, another for the tail. For the wide shots, they would have one person in a suit, but most of the time it was waist up and it was all these puppeteers. All right. The Wise voice. I was texting Mac about this earlier, but I
Yeah.
didn't say who this was. Okay. He was voiced by Kevin Clash. And if you don't know who Kevin Clash is,
Was he the one who got
Yeah.
fired?
yes, he is.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
But that was
Elmo, I love you.
yeah, it was Elmo. It's so funny. You hear Master Splinter, and we're talking like this, and I really like these words, and then you have Elmo. It's the same guy.
Yeah.
It's such a
Totally
such a
different.
dichotomy.
Well,
Yeah.
it shows talent as a voice actor, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wish
yeah,
that
yeah,
talent
certainly,
could have
yeah.
translated to character issue.
Yeah.
Character.
You know,
performance, but,
Yeah.
you want to talk about performance art. So you mentioned Josh Pace, who did Raphael. He also played a Ferengi in 2 episodes of Deep Space Nine with those teeth in.
Yeah.
He was Quark's infamous cousin Gala, who really
okay.
sounded like he had the teeth in.
Oh.
Always sounded like this.
That's right.
Oh wow. Mac, did
It
you
was
have anything else
practically
behind the
Hungry
scenes
Suit.
that I missed?
Couple things. So this movie was highly, highly based on the comics rather than the cartoon.
Yeah.
And a lot of the scenes were lifted, like the scene when Raphael gets ambushed by the foot. It's all lifted from an early comic where it was actually Leonardo who got ambushed by the foot and beaten senselessly. And it was in that story, it was interesting because you saw in the movie Raphael getting beaten, and the other turtles and April were talking and in her apartment about innocuous things. And in the comics, it took place during Christmas, and they were interstitching Leonardo's fight with everyone enjoying Christmas together with April. And did you know that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was actually a parody of Daredevil?
Really?
No.
There's a
Yes.
lot of that.
Yeah. So first of
Wow.
all, Daredevil fights who? The Hand. So they went ahead and said, okay,
The
we're
foot.
going to do the foot. But the other thing is the canister that blinds Matt Murdock is actually the same canister that falls into the sewer and changes the turtle.
Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, it's not
Wow.
official. It's parody.
Right.
Who produced the comics? Did Marvel produce the comics?
No. So that you see Matt Murdock getting hit. They don't make it look like Matt Murdock, but you see it. And it's the same kind of canister that's in Daredevil. And then it falls down into the thing, and they're like, this guy just got hit by a radioactive canister and is in his eyes, and they even say that, or to some extent. So this whole thing, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, is really a Daredevil parody,
Wow.
so to speak. So
Wow. I would not have thought that.
yeah, it's interesting. So that's my 2 cents to add. That's my 2 cents to add. Sorry.
All right. Let me change screens here. Click, and let's go ahead. Go with. Let me move. Shane,
Dave.
Yeah.
I
Do you have anything about the composer?
I have a little bit about it. So the film composer was a guy named John Duprez, I think is his name. Way you say it. Anyway, what's interesting about him is that a lot of his collaborations were done with Monty Python. So he did a lot of his films. Okay, one of them being Life of Brian, and he also did The Meaning of Life, plus a lot of others. Okay, he actually was a last minute replacement to this film. The original composer was Malcolm McLaren, but he backed out. So then they pulled him in. What's interesting about his style is that he actually blends a lot of different sounds, and what he does, a lot of different sounds and styles, because he wants it to fit the different characters. Okay, for example, all right, he uses of course a lot of the rich orchestral blends, everything like that, like a lot of film composers do. But what's interesting is that each kind of character or sets of characters gets their own specific kind of theme. For example, when you think about the Turtles, it is more of 90s hip hop, 90s rock, that kind of thing. When you get into the Splinter character, it is more of the traditional Japanese instruments, things like that Japanese sound. And then when you get into Shredder, it is very much more of a heavier, darker kind of sound, which is very fitting. But what's cool about it is how he transitions between them so smoothly. There's not a lot of breaks in there, and he transitions very well. So he does a very good job with that. There's also, even though this movie is filled with a lot of comedy, comic relief, a lot of the hip hop styles, there is really a lot of that deep emotional music that is brought out, especially, for example, when you're thinking about like the campfire scene.
Yeah.
Whenever they're listening to Splinter. Yes. He does a really, really good job with those emotional undertones in that. He does a really good job with it. An interesting thing is that when the movie first came out, the full soundtrack was not released. The full soundtrack, which was a 24-track score, was actually not released in its full until 2018. Okay, so Waxwork Records actually put out the entire thing, all 24 tracks. It was the first time. Then in 2020, the composer actually released it on his official YouTube channel. So that was kind of the digital version. But all the way from
1990.
What was it? 1990 all the way into 2018. You did not have the full score. So crazy to me. It really is. This score actually did win the BMI, which is the Broadcast Music Inc. Film Music Award in 1991.
Cool.
So that's what I got.
Can I add one more thing?
Please.
Yes, please.
The director for this was the director for Aha's Take on Me. Do you remember that song?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he is that director, and he was actually friends with Jim Henson, and that's why the Henson Company was involved, because he goes to Jim. He's like, I need to make Turtles, and I don't know how to do that, but you can.
Right. Right.
So Jim Henson's like, you want Turtles? I'll give you Turtles. Here we go. So,
well, just think about it this way. How far Henson's has come. You know, we were just I don't know if we remember we were talking offline or we just said it earlier about, you know, Dark Crystal, how it had a lot of that Jim Henson look. You know, even going back to Yoda, comparing Yoda, you know, in 81 when you first saw him to 1990 in these turtles, you know, you really thought these turtles were alive. You know, I mean, we're not talking Jeff Dunham where you really think Walter is real, you know. I mean, it's not like that, but you just you relate. You know, that's one of the things I know Shane always talks about. You know, I need to be able to relate to the characters. I need to be able to feel what they feel, and you
got to have that connection.
That's it, the connection. Yeah.
It doesn't hurt that the animatronics are fairly expressive, even for 1990.
They really are.
Each turtle has their own distinct personality, their own distinct voice. The costumes look a little different. It's not like the same head, you know. They're a little different.
Yeah, they all had a little different shape, you know.
And each one actually has a slightly different build too. I noticed that, like, Leonardo kind of looks maybe a little taller. Like Raphael's a little stockier.
Yeah,
you know, you but just subtle hints, right? And this is even before the remakes the remakes they get for the second movie. But in that one, you had a lot more light in that movie. So I think you needed to maybe refine the costumes a little bit. This was a dark movie, which I know fits more with the, you know, comics and the Daredevil Batman type of aesthetic, you know, in the shadows. But I tell you, as a kid who grew up in the 80s and 90s and loved the cartoons, and I was a little like, whoa, this isn't exactly like the cartoons. I'm like, I'm like,
it confused me.
You know, like when Leonardo whips out, you know, the katana and he's like slicing through the robots on the cartoon. I'm like, is he gonna slice that dude? You know, it's like,
Well, let's look at what the critics think about this movie. Okay, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 43.
Wow. Come
on, the people.
Okay. But Popcorn Meter is kind of what you and I and what we think of the movie. They're at an 81.
Yeah.
Okay. Budget was $13.5 million. I always ask our guys, and I'll ask you guys: did it make money?
Yes.
Starting with Shane.
All the money. Oh.
I mean, obviously, it did make some money because we have Ninja Turtles 2, Ninja Turtles 3, and then it's just kind of gone on from there. It actually made $135 million domestically, and that's all it was released in. It was not released internationally originally. It was re-released 3 times at $202 million.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I
so
mean,
the critics
they
did
more
like
than
it.
made their budget.
But more than
Definitely. But hey, we've got some questions about this movie. Let's go ahead and go there. Shane's the one that picked this movie, so we're going to let him ask the questions. Ask away.
All right, I'll kick it off. So here's the first question. This is kind of a deep thinking question. So here we go. Although the film uses a lot of comedy and it was originally marketed to kids, it does deal with a lot of dark themes, which include violence, betrayal, and trauma. Do you think that the film does a good job of balancing and addressing these darker themes in a positive way?
I would say yes.
Do. Yeah.
Go ahead, DT.
Well, you know, it's funny. Like I said, I was in, I don't know, maybe elementary school or middle school. So I also bought the novelization of the book, and that's even of the movie, and that's even darker. If you can believe it. If you read it and it's like, oh, like there was a way darker backstory for Splinter and Shredder. Like, you know,
they really wanted to make Casey dark too, if I remember right.
Yeah, he was supposed to be darker. I clearly they lightened him up a little. But
Yeah, they only gave him casual murder at the end, not vindictive murder.
Yeah.
Well, if he hadn't said "oops," he would have been a bad dude, right?
Yeah.
Right. Oops.
But that's an example, right? Like literally, Shredder's about to stab Leonardo in the throat. He tries to kill Splinter, who basically olays him off the top. I mean, Raphael is beaten severely. There's a lot of dark themes in this. Like April's getting mugged and like violently, not like just give me your money. It's a darker film when you think about it. Yeah. There's a lot, and like in their fight with Shredder at the end, they have like some red marks on the turtle suit, like kind of trying to make you think maybe the turtles are actually bleeding.
Yeah.
Like they were getting their asses whooped, really. And it's pretty. I mean, like Shredder was all about murdering people. Okay, at least the turtles and Splinter.
Yep.
But it was brutal. Like Casey was getting literally the crap beat out of him when he infiltrated the Foot, and he just happened to find a weapon to even the odds.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of darkness there, and like I didn't realize it as much as a kid. And then you watch the second movie, which is brighter. There's more color. There's Vanilla Ice. That ought to tell you exactly how that movie goes. Okay.
Coca and Razor.
Exactly. It's way cartoonier. It's a little bit more like the cartoon.
Yeah.
Than, so that would be my vibe on it.
Yeah. I think that was also, I think that was part of the reason why the critics didn't like it as much, because it was so dark. And it was so different than the cartoon. But yeah, I think they did a good job balancing the two. If you think about it, I mean, all the things that DT said were spot on. I mean, it was very dark. And I know they wanted to make it even darker, but New Line was like, guys, come on, this is for kids. I mean, they ran into the same issue the year before with Batman. Batman was a dark movie, but then all of a sudden, guess what? Oh, now they're putting Batman toys in Happy Meals. Oh, what do we do? They realized, oh man, this is dark. That's why, if you'll notice that the next one and the ones after that is when they started getting campy, that they realized they had something there, but they didn't want to keep it as dark as it was. I mean, now, heck, Marvel and DC, they have no problem with it now, because they're not focusing on children. Then they pretty much were. I mean, I did not watch the cartoon. I was already. When was the cartoon out?
87, 88, something like that.
Yeah.
See, I had already graduated high school at this point. So I wasn't sitting around watching cartoons. I mean, I had other things I was doing, working and doing, other stuff, so I've seen them. I've seen bits and pieces of lots of them, but, I didn't actually sit down and watch them, all the time. I did, but I watched the movies because I was like, oh yeah, okay, this is a pretty good movie. I really thought that they did a good job balancing the two.
Yeah. Well, the cartoon was pretty good. I mean, it was definitely more fantastical, more sci-fi, a lot more stuff, and they could have all the mutants they want because it's a cartoon. Right. But the Shredder was still pretty intimidating because it was voiced by James Avery, aka Uncle Phil from The Fresh Prince. So just think, that's the voice saying, "I'm going to get the turtles."
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Smell you later.
Yeah, I think they did a great job of balancing this. Since it was a dark movie. They had to put some kind of undertone in there to make it balanced, and where they were the parents that, okay, my kid could watch that.
Yeah. Did you guys notice that there were some things that stood out when it came to editing with this movie? DT was right on with the darkness and the shadows and the darker play, just to run that theme. But there were also moments where they had like sound effects, like the splat effect of the pizza falling on Shredder's head, or when they're returning April back to her apartment and she goes, "Well, I've got maybe some frozen pizza or something. That's all I have." And then like, was it Michelangelo just shoots up out and it's like, you hear that. This movie had 3 different editors. The first 2 kept getting fired, and I think it was because they were making the movie too dark. And these little things, these edits in, were a way to kind of cartoonify, and lessen the darkness a little bit.
It is a bit of a dichotomy, isn't it?
It is. It's probably the only thing that doesn't age well in this movie.
Yeah,
like everything else, supremely aged well, like just fantastically well. So that's
because everything got dark.
Yeah, which I think that some of the dark elements really, as you said, Mac, it really kind of, especially if you're a kid like me who enjoyed the cartoon and really got into Ninja Turtles when I was a lot younger. Now that I'm an adult, I look back on those things and it's still entertaining to watch. It's not necessarily what you would call kiddish, I guess, even though I don't mind stuff like that. But it really did age very well because of some of those dark tones that it kind of went into. But it's not so dark that it was like traumatizing to watch it as a kid, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and some of the dialogue too was like the fun little jokes, like pork rind. Argument.
That's
kitchen.
90s.
Kitchen. Just a little back and forth here and stuff. I mean, they actually had deep conversations.
I'd be curious to see if this got like a re-release, like now with the darkness that has kind of pervade a lot of not only cinema but like superhero type genres, which this generally falls in. To see. I mean, this movie is, if you updated it or if you just said, hey, back in the 90s and make a thing out of it. But I think it might actually go over more with the critics now than it would have back in the 90s, where they're firing, they're canceling TV shows and movies because, one person died, over,
a lot of blood, gore.
It's true.
Yeah. Nowadays, that's like par for the course. If you go to an adult film, not an adult film.
Whoa,
hey,
talk about
if you were to go to a like a PG-13 to R movie, now there's got to be lots of strong language, lots of innuendo, and then violence or blood or full Game of Thrones.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
true.
I know they had trouble keeping this rated PG. But it was rated PG. They didn't. I don't think in the early 90s they had PG-13. I thought that happened towards the end of the 90s, if I recall right. I could be wrong on that.
End of the 80s.
I don't know.
It was the 80s.
Okay, so they did have it.
I think it was Spielberg who pioneered PG-13.
Temple of Doom, spurred that.
Was it Temple of Doom?
Yep.
Because that was a
grabbing
PG
the heart
movie.
out.
It's okay. In I think it was in the 70s. Up until like the mid or early 70s, you could, if you used the F-bomb in a movie, you were given an X rating.
Yeah, true. Very true.
So MASH was the first movie back in 1970 that used the F word that didn't receive an X rating. So think about that.
Wow.
Kevin Smith would have been nigh unemployable.
Very true. Very true. Okay. All right. Question number 2. Because the Turtles fight crime outside the rule of law, quote unquote, would you consider them as heroes or as vigilantes, and why?
Can't they be both?
I've watched so many superhero
I
movies.
know,
and
right?
shows, it's almost like you have to be like, aren't they both?
I would argue both. I don't have any good explanation as to why, but I mean, their hearts are pure,
Yeah.
and while they're vigilanteing, they are getting the bad guys, and they're not killing them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Except for Shredder.
Oh, Casey did that. He's a true vigilante. He's not a hero.
Actually, the Turtles didn't do it. Splinter did it.
True.
Splinter's the one that threw him off the roof. You know.
True.
Yeah,
In
Close.
fairness, Shredder could have pulled himself up, but he decided to still try to kill Splinter,
That's true.
throwing
Yeah.
the knife.
Yeah,
He
throwing
did.
the knife, and
He did.
Splinter.
So I
caught
guess
the
it's
knife at the
suicide.
sacrifice of. Yeah.
Fair point. Fair point.
Yeah, I would consider them heroes more than vigilantes, just
Yeah.
because I think Max said it best. You know, they didn't kill anybody. They had a good moral compass. You know, they were just going out to protect and find Shredder. I mean, Splinter, not Shredder. They were trying to find Splinter originally, you know, and then they were trying to protect Julia,
April?
whatever her name was. April, or whatever. Yeah, April O'Neil. They were trying to protect her, you know, and just trying to, you know, take care of their brother, you know, who was hurt. You know, they weren't going back with any preconceived, you know, oh, we're going to get them for what they did to us. You know, I mean, it didn't seem that way. And one thing that I really liked about it is really they're superheroes, but they're superheroes without capes. You know,
It's true.
you know,
Yeah.
True.
up
They
to
did
that
have
point,
masks.
all the superheroes you always thought about, oh, they got to have a cape. They were superheroes, but they didn't have capes. So
Yeah,
Yeah, but they have masks though.
They do. They do.
so did the Lone Ranger.
It's that little.
It's just
And Zorro.
Yeah,
And
Zorro
Zorro.
too.
Oh.
Yes.
He had
Yes.
a
He had the hat though. I mean, you got to have
well.
the hat.
Hold on. Zorro actually had a cape.
He did.
He did.
I have to withdraw. I have to
Fair.
withdraw my
Fair.
point.
You're right. Well, which Zorro are you talking about? The one with the whip or the one with the sword?
I think with the sword. You got to go with the sword.
All
I
right,
go with
I know,
old
you
school.
You guys don't even probably even know what I'm talking about. So it's
I know
okay.
what you're talking about. But the thing is,
Wait, are we talking George Hamilton?
Yes.
That's such a ridiculous movie.
It was.
Oh Lord.
Oh Lord.
You know, growing up, that was my first taste of Zorro. Was seeing George Hamilton's. It was Zorro and the Gay Blade. That was my first. I didn't know any different until
I'm
later
sorry.
on. I was like, oh, he was.
Oh.
It was a real guy.
Yeah.
So I agree. I mean, it could be both, but their morals and how Splinter taught them, it wasn't. I think they were more superhero trying to protect the innocent. Just like if you look at a night like with a Knight's Code, protect the innocent at all costs. Don't sit there and do it well. Yeah, I
Well,
say
wasn't-
superhero.
Well, yeah, and that wasn't that cousin. Like in the third movie, they go back to like late feudal Japan
Yeah,
and there's that samurai code that they fit in.
yeah.
So there
Yeah.
you're right. It's that like Bushido, that knight in shining armor kind of code to knight will always defend the innocent and whatnot. So
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The only thing that I would kind of mention when you think about the vigilante versus the superhero is that who would we consider y'all's thoughts? Who would we consider to be the ultimate vigilante-ish superhero when you think about
Batman.
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 Okay. Yeah. So a lot of times Batman, the way
Punisher.
he did things, do what?
Oh,
Punisher too.
Well, hey,
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
I got to go Punisher.
Which one?
Touche.
Don't
that's
matter.
a good one. Yeah.
But DT, one of the things that you mentioned that kind of stuck with me was that was the whole kind of fighting in the shadows kind of thing. Okay. And that is one of the things when we think about a vigilante superhero ish, that's something they kind of do. They fight in the shadows. They're not the out front kind of like when you think of Superman, he's kind of out front. He's the crowd pleasing kind of everybody knows him and sees him. Batman's not that way. He is very much hides away, comes out, does what he needs to do, goes back, which is a lot of what these turtles do. That's kind of how they fight too. They fight in the shadows. So I mean, I see the point of both, but I think I would lean more on the vigilante side, mostly just because of that.
I mean, both Daredevil and Batman, they both have strong martial arts backgrounds where there is code that comes with that. They do kind of melt into the shadows, more prone to non-lethal means.
Right.
So I understand that. It's all fine to say you're going to be non-lethal when you're beating somebody with a stick, but when you have two 5-foot turtles wielding swords and knives, I mean,
that's true. Very true. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. That's probably not something the enemy sees coming very much. Anyway, let's see. So this is more of a lighthearted one. Here we go. What other animal would you replace the turtles with if you were remaking this movie?
Toads.
Toads.
Oh,
they did that in their cartoon.
Yeah, they did.
They did?
Yeah, they did actually. Yeah.
I forgot about
What was the video game from the early 90s? Battletoads.
That was the best game ever because you could actually beat up on the person you were co-playing with.
Oh wow.
It was the hardest game ever. I beat it.
Yeah.
But it was the hardest game ever.
In the cartoon, Shredder tried to develop his own counter to the Ninja Turtles and found a bunch of frogs and toads and gave them all names of like Rasputin and Napoleon Bonafrog and stuff like that.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Genghis Frog. I had Genghis Frog.
I would have probably done maybe to do a panda or a.
Yeah, that's been done too.
I know that's what it's like.
Panda.
See, the panda thing, that's where I was going. I would love to see this be like an early version of Kung Fu Panda, in the Furious 5. Just
the Komodo dragon.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean,
All right.
if we're just talking about cool animals, and I know this has already been done too, but a platypus.
That was
Curse you, Perry the platypus.
no, he wore the hat.
Perry the platypus from Phineas and Ferb.
Phineas and Ferb. That's it. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, it just came back for a new season. So.
Oh, really? Oh god,
yeah,
my kids loved it because I remember they would go around singing the song, about the 100 Days of Summer or whatever.
104 days of summer vacation.
104 days of summer. Which actually you don't get 104 days of summer.
Heck I know. You don't. I was doing the math, and I was like, "Damn it!"
You get 5 weeks. That's it.
I guess I would do a lizard, just because. Let me see if I can pull this image up. When I was growing up in the early 70s, there was a movie. Let's see if it'll pull up. It was called The 5 Deadly Venoms. And it's fantastic. Watch it on my Plex. It's on there. I'm just saying. Each of them were different. One of them was a snake. One of them was a centipede. One of them was a scorpion. One of them was a toad, and one of them was a lizard. And I just loved the lizard guy because he could walk on walls, and do all kinds of cool stuff, And I don't want to tell you anything else about the movie because I want you to see it at some point. But it really was. I mean, it's all in English subtitles too, or actually maybe they did it in English. I don't remember. Anyway, but yeah, I would do a lizard. That'd be my pick.
That'd be cool. Okay. Last question. Y'all ready? Speaking of pizza, what is your ultimate pizza topping combo, and what pizza toppings would you consider to be a crime against pizza, meaning should never be on a pizza?
Speaking of hungry.
I know.
Let me tell you, I have strong feelings about what shouldn't be on pizza.
Meat lovers all the way. Anything
Yes.
with meat is great. Fantastic.
Yes.
Not a veggie fan. Just in general, I don't like peppers. I mean, give me salsa and all that, fine. I just don't like the taste, like green peppers, red peppers. No, but anything about, what did you say, a crime against pizza?
Yes.
Anything with the word anchovies.
No.
Anchovies.
That was a
are-
big line in this movie.
Yeah.
When he's yelling at the pizza
but
delivery
I
guy,
agree
if
with
you
them.
put
They were-
anchovies on this dude.
Yeah. No, I remember my dad used to get we'd have to get like half and half. You know, that's when we went to a local pizza joint. Nobody did half and half then. And they were nice about it because they knew I couldn't stand anchovies and my dad loved them. And so, you know, and it's like, no, yeah. To me, anchovies, and I've had, don't get me wrong, I've had some weird pizza. I used to live in Japan and they put corn on their pizza. And, you know, and a lot of people are like, "Ooh, really, corn?" It's actually decent, you know. I mean, they roast it first, and when it's not just like thrown on there, it's roasted corn, you know, and butter and all this, you know. So it's usually with some kind of meat with it. So it's got it offshoots itself, you know, maybe some sautéed onions with it or something. So it's not just you know corn. So
Yeah,
but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Anything all meat or just I love a supreme pizza. I don't mind the peppers and the onions, but yeah, leave anchovies on the stinking pizza.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and say, I'll agree with you on the anchovies, and I enjoy pineapple, but it doesn't belong on pizza. I don't care what anybody says. Pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. And broccoli.
Oh
Yeah,
no!
I was gonna say, yeah.
The smell of cooked broccoli.
Yes.
I've worked in the stankiest place the government could send me, you know, at any given point. They're burning excrement, diesel fuel, you name it. Never made me nauseous. Cooked broccoli?
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah. I'll second that. But
that's it. And a delightful topping, in addition to, you know, I love pepperoni and whatnot, but nicely crisp bacon on a pizza.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
It just pops.
Yes.
You get it right. It pops.
Agreed.
Hi, John.
Hey, John.
Hey, John. You mute.
Just a little late, you know.
It's all good.
But you made it for the best part.
You made it for the best part.
You made it for the best question. Go ahead, Shane. Read it again for him.
Yeah,
so he can go ahead.
So
and answer
John, this question is, what is your ultimate pizza topping combo, and what pizza toppings would you consider to be a crime against pizza, meaning they should never be on a pizza?
I mean, me personally, I usually don't go wrong with a good meat lovers. Just combo of sausage, bacon, ham, pepperoni. Love that all day long. My big, I also do a good, you know, barbecue chicken. We'll take that. But biggest crime, what is it? Sardines or anchovies that people put on
anchovies?
Pizza?
Yeah, anchovies.
So that is the only one I absolutely am like, okay, you're ridiculous. Fish should not be on pizza. Pineapple, depending on the use case, I know a lot of people give that a bunch of crap, but I'm honestly okay with pineapple in the right use case. Now, you can't have too much pineapple. If you got too much pineapple, it's wrong altogether. I think we can agree on that, but it adds the right amount of sweetness if you have the other toppings right.
Yeah.
That's where I land on that one.
Yep.
I agree with that.
Yep.
I'll allow it.
Yep.
I mean, I'm just gonna, yes, meat lovers all the way. Maybe throw a little bit of red onion on there, you know, just for a little kick. Why is there such a thing as veggie delight or pizza? Why? No, you're putting artichoke hearts, avocado, broccoli, slices of tomatoes. What? No.
Yeah, that's all just wrong.
That's nasty. And you know what? You know what's a good veggie to lovers, a vegetarian pizza? Cheese. It's a good vegetarian pizza right there, everybody.
Yes.
You're not going to ostracize half the people in that room by getting just
but you see, you got to have cauliflower crust.
Yeah, you gotta leave off the milk. You gotta leave off the cheese. It's made by a cow, so it's a cow.
Vegan cheese.
Yeah, no.
We're not talking vegan. I'm just talking veggie. Veggie friendly, and that a good cheese pizza will do just fine in that regard.
Yep.
Let's face it, folks. If you wanted to eat healthy, you wouldn't be diving into the pizza.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I mean, the Pizza Hut, McDonald's, all of them, they're like, well, if you want to have pizza, we got this little green salad, small salad here if you want it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're here for the masses.
That's right. That's right.
So, hey, let's go ahead and rate this thing. All right. Okay, everyone. We rate this on a scale of 0 to 5 lightsabers. Shane, we're going to let you start off because you were the one that picked this movie.
Oh Lord, the pressure. I hate going first. So I love this movie. I'll just be honest. It is nostalgic. It takes me back to my childhood. Everything I loved about it. I was a martial arts kid as I grew up. I mean, I love any kind of martial arts movie there was. I watched it. Huge Bruce Lee fan, everything like that. So I mean, this definitely fills that niche there. I mean, the characters are great. I think it's a good storyline. Like we kind of talked about, I think it really fits in all of the dark elements with the comedy and everything, and even just as Max said, even some of the cartoonish things that they had in there. I think it does a good job with it. I don't know that I can rate it as high as some of the others that we've done this year, some of the classics, but it's close. I'm going to have to give this one a 4.5.
It's good.
All
That's
right.
honest. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Mac, how about you?
There was something about this I wanted to say because we
did skip the plot hole part, so I didn't want it to go too long, but yeah, there were a few plot holes. So
do you want to bring up one of them because I can't think of them. I know if you want to point it out, I can comment.
Oh, okay. Well, like, all right. How did Splinter actually? I'm going to use Shane as an example. All right. How did just watching someone learn and you become now a master ninja? I'm sorry. I have watched every Chuck Norris movie out there. I have watched every Bruce Lee movie out there. I cannot do a roundhouse kick. No, ain't going to happen. How many hours of practice did you have to put in, Shane, to get your black belt?
It took me 7 years to get it.
Okay. And you're telling me that these guys are teenagers and that they're going to be ninjas? Mm-hmm. No. Just because a rat watched his master from a cage? No one notices a giant turtle in a trench coat and a hat walking around New York City. I know New York City's a little bit out there.
I think it would slide by in New York, bud.
Fair.
That's why this didn't take place in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Or Leonardo with his katanas hitting people and not bleeding. I'm like,
well, maybe the mutagen acts more like the super soldier serum. Increased intelligence and reflexes and whatnot.
I was going to say, I mean, there's a certain level of suspension of disbelief that I can leverage because we're looking at a movie with mutant turtles. So I'll let that slide. I feel like this movie aged exceedingly well. And the cinematography is wonderful. I felt it was a little dark as a kid, but looking at it now, I'm like, this is great. This is a good movie. There's a reason behind all of their actions. Raphael, as a kid, I thought, why is he acting like such a jerk? Well, that's Raphael, right? He's an alpha with another alpha. I'm gonna have to go with a 4 out of 5. I there's really nothing I don't like about it. I mean, there's some editing aspects that, some of the cringe factors, but there's some, 4 out of 5 for me. Pretty solid, enjoyable, easy watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Chad, how about you?
Yeah, this movie aged very well. Like, even watching it just for this, I let my son. Well, I watched it as a family film. And the thing is, it might have a few little words and little violence, dark tone. This movie aged well. I remember watching it as a kid and going and watching the second one and watching the third one. I'm like, it really aged well. I mean, to me, I can't give it a 5 because it's just, it's there. I mean, I agree with Mac. It's just a 4 out of 5. So I give it a 4.
It's not like Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a 5.
Yeah.
So, or Empire Strikes Back, which some of you said were 3.5. John.
No.
Hold on.
Wow.
It was not John.
It was
okay.
Dave.
John gave it a 5.
I'm sorry, John.
I went
I'm sorry.
back
You
and
did
looked at it.
I apologize.
It was yours truly that gave it a 4 because it was the first time rating it like that, and I was like, I don't want our first movie to be all 5s. But then afterwards, at the end of the year, I was definitely had to retcon it to say, I was an idiot. It was a 5 all the way.
That's why you don't start with the big dog, man. Never start with the big dog.
Well, up till that point, we were just doing thumbs up and thumbs down, and we were like, well, that's just kind of Siskel and Ebert 1980s. Let's go with something a little bit more modern. So that's why we ended up changing. John, DT, tell us for you, what would you rate it?
Like I said, I grew up watching the cartoons. I didn't know it was a comic book. I watched it after school. I had the toys. When the movie came out, I was super excited, as many kids were at the time, right? I was the demographic. I was like 9-10 years old when the movie came out. I was humming the theme song to the cartoon on my way into the theater. And how they did exactly, but they also have the description. Leonardo leads, Donatello does machines. Raphael is cool but rude, and Michelangelo is the party dude, right? And it's all in your head, right? So I'm in there and I'm like, whoa, this is not what I was expecting. It was good though. I mean, it was dark, and I would say it's probably as grounded and real as a movie like this could be, because it's street level fighting, right? Yeah. There's not Krang from the alternate dimension and hundreds of foot soldier robots, and this is like a science experiment gone wrong, right? This is why you clean up your toxic waste. It's almost like an environmental message at the same time, but it was gritty. Like, one of the main characters gets fired, right? she's politically inconvenient for the station, so they fire her. She gets fired, right? She gets fired. She loses her house. I mean, literally, like, her whole world collapses around her. You have people severely hurt. You have, street gangs trying to take over New York, which everybody does. I mean, that's been, but still, it's gritty. I think it holds up better. Mac and I reviewed Turtles 2 recently, and it was definitely more cartoony. They had to tone stuff down because of the criticism of the first movie. They never really used their weapons. The closest Michelangelo gets to using nunchucks is using sausage links to fight the foot. Watch the second one as an adult, and you'll realize the first one aged better. It grows up with you a little more, and I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to give it a special 4.5 out of 5. And each lightsaber is the color of a turtle's mask. And the half,
Nice.
and the half is a wooden staff.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
Boom.
There you go.
Nice. I love
Nice.
it.
Such a
Let's say,
nerd.
or the half could be like a short Yoda lightsaber, you know,
Yeah.
akin to a wooden staff.
Sure.
Okay, John, how about it? You go ahead and rate this.
I mean, honestly, for a first watch through, I mean, I honestly think I remember seeing parts of this as a kid and just not actually watching it fully. But it definitely caught my attention a lot more as an adult. And leading up to this, the talk of the costumes, I think, was a little misleading because even those weren't necessarily, I think, as bad as they were being made fun of originally. I think overall, solid film, like you guys said, solid dark tone, realistic, and just super solid overall there. Cheesy where it needed to be, intelligent where it needed to be, and just overall, like I said, a solid film that holds the test of time even now. And so I would also give it a solid 4.
All right. And then there was me. I'm always the critical one, more so than these guys are. But I'm going to say but because I absolutely loved this movie. There was a few little nitnoid things, like production stuff and all that. But what year is it? It's 2025. This was released in 1990. Someone do the math. What is that? 35 years?
Yeah.
35 years. It's still enjoyable. It's, again, characters use their weapons. And I remember the sequels, they didn't, and it was dark, but it was still lighthearted at the same time. It was fun. It really was. I'm giving it a 4.5. So
Wow.
I'm going a little bit higher than you guys.
Wow.
Wow. For Dave giving a 4.5,
4.5?
that's amazing.
Well,
Awesome! Bodacious!
yeah. Okay. Hey, Mac, DT, we thank you guys for coming on the show. Tell everybody where they can find you guys at. Do you guys have anything coming up? That you guys got plans scheduled or anything?
Oh, well, we do have our 4-year anniversary coming up in August. So
Nice.
yeah, we're trying to think of what the big shindig will be around it, but that it will be 4 years, and we're pretty proud of that.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Definitely.
We're on multiple platforms now. Mac, you read them off all the time, so feel free.
Yeah. Yeah, you just find those Sci-Fi Guys on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate your help on that one. YouTube, Rumble. Yeah, that's all of them. So, and you can find us. Oh, yeah, we're on Facebook. We don't post the episodes, but links are there. And you can find us on X at Those Sci-Fi Guys or at PS McKay. Either one's there. And yeah.
Yeah. And those of you that are listening to us, you guys have heard the spiel. I'm not going to go ahead and play the whole thing, the video and all that. But you guys can find us, TheseSciFiGuys at gmail.com. You can find us on all the social media networks at TheseSciFiGuys. And, of course, right here on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We don't do as many as those Sci-Fi Guys do, but, we just send it out to one and it kind of sends it out to most of them. So. We're actually going to be doing our 100th episode sometime in the middle of July is when we're actually going to be. I mean, we've been doing it for 3 years now, and we still have no idea what we're going to do. We actually, and hey, maybe I'm just making this up as we're going along. I'm actually thinking about we need to rate all of our movies from day one till now. That'll give us 100 episodes to rate. Not this show, but at least, and then of course take off our crossovers that we've done, that still gives us like 95 episodes and we need to rate our top 10 each and then maybe our bottom 10 or something. I don't know. We'll make it up. We'll figure it out. We still got like a month and a half to go before we have to figure out what we're going to do with it. Sorry, I just get an email. It's just like, oh yeah, you've got a vacation coming up. Don't forget. And I'm like, I'm not going to forget my vacation. That's for sure.
Promise.
Yeah. Did you guys notice something? I put it on the screen purposely. I don't know if you guys noticed it. The movie actually used this emblem, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
They did, yes.
That is the one from the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It even
But
had the registered trademark R next to it in the movie. Like the same. Like it's
It's like they use clip art.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't put that up there. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
I think they were I think it was one of those things where the producers were like, we need to make sure that these kids know that this is Ninja Turtles in some form or another. So
yeah, well, again, it was kind of confusing compared to, I mean, from what you guys have told me. Again, I did not grow up on the cartoons, but I know of them, and I knew that this was a departure from the cartoons quite a bit, So anyway,
it was fun.
Well, everyone, until next time.
Crash and burn.
The Sci-Fi Guys is an independent broadcast by the Sci-Fi Guy Productions. For more information on upcoming episodes, follow us on Twitter or X at the Sci-Fi Guys. For our audio-only listeners, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Like, subscribe, or leave a comment to let us know how we're. Hey, I forgot something, so we're gonna jump back in here. Isn't that the way it is? You start your outro and you're like, okay, here we go. But we didn't say what we're going to be doing next. So usually we this is the part of the show. Of course, we kind of condensed a lot of stuff because we're already over an hour. And but I knew that was going to happen because when you get fantastic guests, that's what happens.
Right.
Yeah. But what was he doing? Oh yeah, we did Ninja Turtles, and our next show is another comic book show that we're going to do. We are going to be doing The Mask from Jim Carrey.
I'll be interested in what your guys' take is on this one.
I'll be interested to see what questions I come up with because I just started watching it today, and I was like, because we're recording our next week's one early because John is getting ready to go on a mission trip to the Dominican Republic. So, so when we normally would record next week, so we're going to actually record it early, probably release it on time, so that way it doesn't confuse anybody. But as I'm doing that, I'm telling you guys this. So, anyway, well, everyone, peace out.